Hello, my name is John O'Connell, Chair and Founder of ScaleUp Group. I'm delighted today to be talking with Adam Hale, who, amongst many other things, is a fellow partner in one of our Pearls of Wisdom podcasts. He's not a partner in one of those, he's a partner in ScaleUp Group, but this is one of our Pearls of Wisdom podcasts today.
Maybe not.
ScaleUp, maybe not. ScaleUp Group obtains growth funding for tech entrepreneurs, as well as us co-investing. So far, we've raised around $100 million, and we personally have invested around $7 million of that. Adam, a very warm welcome.
Hey, thanks, John.
I'm delighted that our entrepreneurial clients at ScaleUp Group have the benefit of your vast knowledge, experience, and connections, which they're able to take advantage of as and when they feel the need. An example of this is that you personally recognize the great potential of Clue Software in its early days, introduced their co-founders, Claire and Thomas, to ScaleUp Group. We obtained both growth funding from a value-added investor in Frog, led by Mike Reed, their founder and senior partner, and then you, Adam, were appointed as Clue's first chairman. Mike Reed has since become also a fellow ScaleUp Group partner. So something of a virtuous circle, I would say. Everyone was a winner. Most importantly, Clue continues to go from strength to strength. So well done to you, Adam, and your colleagues there.
It's Claire, Thomas, and the team that are doing all the hard work, John.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. But some advice and guidance along the way never goes amiss. Adam, as we've only got 15, 20 minutes, I'm not going to spend too much longer on this intro, but suffice to say that your career speaks for itself, starting off as a consultant with Accenture, nay Arthur Andersen, then heading up the European software practice for Russell Reynolds, a top recruitment firm in technology, then a big career move into leading in due course as CEO, the SaaS business Fairsail, scaling quickly from a small to market leader before being acquired by Sage for £115 million, I believe, in cash. Chairing of the not-for-profit ScaleUp Institute, also an advisor, NED, and chair for multiple other businesses. Wow. We could do more than 20 minutes here, I'm sure. You and I, Adam, we first met 20 plus years ago when you were one of the first chairs of the technology group of what was then the Prince's Trust, now the King's Trust, following in the footsteps of Richard Holway, James Bennett, and of course myself as its founding chair. Where to begin, Adam? Being you and I, we're going to attempt the impossible in this next 20 minutes, which is to distill, number one, what has driven you, number two, what lessons you've learned, and three, what would you like to pass on to our audience of primarily tech entrepreneurs and leaders? Simple task. This is not. So over to you, Adam. And please, you decide in whichever order you want to cover them.
Great, thanks, John, and delighted to be on. And what's driven me? I don't know. Maybe I grew up in Birmingham. As one of two boys. I'm only a year younger than my brother. And when you're two and your older brother is three and you want to do everything that he's doing, you just have to give everything. And maybe that's just a kind of attitude that stayed with me my whole life. I don't know. I was thinking about the kind of the lessons learned, and I'm boiling it down. I'd love you to kind of choose the ones that are most interesting. So let me kind of give you a list. So
Sure.
First one, kind of American and British mindset. Second one, success is through people and technology. Third one, be customer-centric, brackets, think like a doctor. Fourth one, live by the farmyard. Explain all of these. Quality first, do it right first time. Use a framework, brackets, avoid spilt blood. Family first, and stay active. So those are my kind of seven, but pick one and we'll dive into something.
Thanks, Adam. What strikes me about you, and a client of ours said this to me literally only a couple of days ago, is that you do have the ability to distill your vast knowledge and experience into very simple to understand words and phrases. You know, and the one about the farmyard, which no doubt you'll mention shortly. And I
Can we
think
do the
that
farmyard? Go on, can we do the farm? No,
let's
seriously.
do the farmyard. Yeah,
Do you want to do the farmyard?
yeah, sure.
I love trying to find a phrase, and by the way, they're almost always not my phrase, but something that kind of encapsulates something. And also, we've had professions, we've had farming for a lot longer than we've had technology and transformation. So I try and kind of find lessons from the past that apply now. So I've got two favorite farming phrases that people that have worked with me will have heard me say a lot. And the first one is that in breakfast, the chicken is involved and the pig is committed. And when we're all vegetarians in 50 years, nobody would understand that. But you
Yeah,
get the point. And I believe, and particularly in scaling up fast-growing businesses, everybody needs to be a pig. Everybody needs to be committed. And it's that real taking of responsibility. It's like, I own this, I'll get this done. That's, I think, a really important mindset that I try and live by and try and kind of encourage that mindset. My second favorite farming phrase is this kind of people talk about metrics and kind of KPIs and all this stuff is what farmers often say is you don't fatten a pig by weighing it.
yeah,
And again, that's the whole thing. It's like, well, could we look at it a different way? Well, it's still the same pig, right? So what are we actually going to do to improve the situation rather than just measure it a whole different way? And those two phrases, I heard them a long, long, long time ago. But
yeah,
they're ones that always stuck in my mind.
yeah. I think absolutely right. You tend to think just measuring itself comes up with solutions, and wearing my ex-accountant hat, I'm sure I was guilty of that in my very early days. Another one of yours, which I particularly like, is thinking like a doctor.
Yes. Well, and that's the phrase where I've always, worked. I was in client service for a long time. And I've always been trying to be really, really close to customers. I always try and put myself in the customers and the clients' shoes. The reason I say think like a doctor, and in fact, I was at one of the scale ups I worked with yesterday, kind of going through this with the team. So, what does a doctor do when they meet a patient? Right? They say, well, where does it hurt? They're looking for the pain. They're looking for what anguishes that person, and they're kind of respectfully kind of pressing the bruise. I think that's what we all need to do with our customers. I mean, I just operate in the B2B world, but you really need to understand what's the pain that organization has and how much does it hurt? Because it's only when an organization feels some kind of pain that they want to do something different. And that's the why. That's why organizations need to do something. And then what you have to do is flip from the why and the pain to kind of inspire them for what's possible. What's the promised land? What's the future that you could go with them? So you have to go from why to what. And then you say, well, how do we get there together? And the
Yeah,
mistake a lot of tech companies make is they're answering the how question and the customer's still thinking why.
yeah, and why? Yeah, you're touching also upon another dilemma for many entrepreneurs, and I think you must have seen this with Fairsail, that moving from being a services business to a product-led businesses, albeit no doubt with some services, does require quite a shift, doesn't it, in attitude and culture, where you are inevitably with a product. Well, you comment on this, Adam. De facto, your rationale for being in business is to get someone to buy your product. Whereas with a services business, you can be much more flexible, I have thought, and customer aware. Maybe. Over
Yeah,
to
no,
you.
I'm totally with you, John. And it's interesting. I had this conversation with an investment banker yesterday because he used the word customize. And there are two 9-letter words beginning with C that are often used synonymously, and they're actually different, which are customize and configure. I
Mhm.
said, well, actually, are you sure you don't mean configure? Because to me, configuration is great. It's what you do with software, and it's a bit like flying a plane. Loads of like 500 switches you need to flick. in order to fly a plane. Being a pilot's hard. Being a pilot's really hard. But you're not behind the dash kind of rewiring things. You're not customizing it. You're configuring. I think that's what software businesses need to do. They need their solution is be configurable enough
Yeah.
that it can be changed to be used in all kinds of different situations, but you're not customizing it, which is where effectively you're kind of creating a branch of the code and the solution. And actually, this is one of the great things that cloud's given us. You and I both remember, software in the 90s, which was a nightmare. You got this thing on a disk and it had the code in it, and let's just change it a bit. And suddenly it's like you're not really using the software anymore. You just kind of went on this horrific branch, and then you try and get it back on track. It's just different. And so to me, it's that really thinking clearly about, is it designed to be configurable as software versus customized, and then you're a services business, you're all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And also going back to those somewhat dark days, there was a implied reliance that the DP department would take so long to load your software and integrate it with the spaghetti of all the other technologies they had, that pretty much everyone had forgotten why the hell they bought it in the first place.
You're taking me back, John. My first full-time job in tech was in '83 as an IBM mainframe operator. So I was one of the people loading the tapes and changing the printers, and but it seems a long time ago.
And SaaS is, of course, now I think made software industry honest, hasn't it? Because there's no hiding place. There's no filters, there's no DP department. The customers are using it as is. I think it's a tremendously positive step forward. Something a bit wider, Adam, you've identified is this whole. I'm somewhat reluctant to talk about this, given what's going on in the world, but this American and British mindset. Is there no hope for us Brits when it comes to can-do attitude, or what can be done?
Honestly, I think there's always hope. I've always been optimistic. I love being optimistic. It's always possible to do better. But I grew up in Birmingham and then Stockport, and I went on a holiday to the States when I was 15 for the first time, and just thought, oh my God, I just love the ambition, the purpose, the energy, the dynamism. And I decided then actually that I would work for American firms. And so I was a Brit in American firms for 26 years, which is quite a long time. And I love that kind of mentality and that mindset. And actually the first European firm I worked in was one where I got to be CEO. So you can kind of set the culture and set the energy. But while I'm obviously incredibly proud to be a Brit, there can be. I mean, people always, what was the Britain like in the 70s? And I said, well, kind of the answer is no. What's the question? That's kind of what it was like. And I don't like that kind of problem mentality, cynicism, reasons not to do things. I try and be more of a kind of one of my US clients once told me, try and be more of a towards person than an away person. But having said that, I think the UK, oh my God, now the mentality is so much better than it was. Certainly when I grew up in the 60s. Interestingly, I actually think a big part of that positive change in mentality and culture has been through immigration. A lot of non-Brits actually coming to the UK, which I think by an overall measure have massively improved the country.
Yeah, absolutely, without question. And of course, yours truly being an immigrant from Ireland, although I'm sure you weren't thinking of Irish people when you made those comments, but I do think you're right.
But please stay.
Yeah, I definitely will be. Well, I stand the test. There's a notorious Tory politician a long time ago who there was a test about which cricket team do you support. Well,
that was Heseltine. Oh yeah, but you know what? I think that was such bullshit.
Yeah,
such a bullshit test.
But I do. When Ireland play England at any sport, even though I was born in Cork in Ireland, I support England because it was England that gave me and my family, who were destitute, a life. school meals and social security and
Yeah.
grammar school. I think you pay back. This payback attitude, I think, is
Yeah.
runs very deeply in some people. Yeah, and another one of yours, Adam, which I think is really on the money, if I may say so, is the staying active. Having a debate the other day with one of my grandchildren. It's wonderful to have great ideas, but if you haven't got the energy, it's just wasted ideas. Do you want to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So when I was at Accenture, I played volleyball because I played at uni and I was in the national leagues and all that stuff. And that meant, having to leave at like 5:30 a couple of days a week and go to training and, and go to the gym. And my mindset always was that actually my clients would want me to take an hour off, would want me to be productive with my time so that I'm full of energy and full of dynamism for when I'm working with them and for them. And that they don't want me to be just kind of, I've been here all day. And, so I've just really tried to be as productive as I can with my time and also, keep myself healthy. And the other piece is it's just great, just a chance to meet with people who do other things and have got
Yeah.
other interests. I've been for a cycle this morning with friends of mine who all do different things or nothing, and it's
Mm.
just great. It's just this escape and a different
Yeah.
world. So whether it's been volleyball or running or cycling or whatever. And people should do whatever they enjoy doing. I've never really been any good at any of them, but I just really enjoy doing them.
Yeah. I guess it was my only real form of management training, which those who know me might think, yeah, that figures, which was I was made club captain of a 7-team amateur.
Rugby sevens.
No, yeah, no, this was soccer, and
Okay.
but it was football, and I wanted to be a career footballer, never made it. But I
Not
had
too
to
late,
figure
John.
out, no, not too late. I had to figure out whether do I come up with the tactics first and then find the players to fit it, or do I accept the players I've got and then work what will be the best tactics to winning with them? And I often think this is what running successful businesses is about. It's a bit of a compromise, isn't it, between you don't have necessarily rock stars in the whole of your team, and regrettably some have to don't stand the course of time. But that development and leadership aspects, I think it's particularly challenging. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. One of my favorite business books, and it's in the shelf behind me, is one called Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Hmm.
Did a data study of like hundreds of organizations that went from doing good to doing great. And his hypothesis for how they got there was, I think, just genius. With 4 words, was first who, then what. I.e., you got to get the right team first, and the right
Yeah,
team figure out the transformation. It's funny, when I was a headhunter, I used to say to CEOs and to chairs, is like, when you're new into a business, your first call shouldn't be to McKinsey, it should be to me, because I'm the one that can help you get the right team on board. Because if you try and do the what before the who, history suggests it won't drive as much value. So to me, just great businesses are made up of great people. It's that simple, and I think great people can figure stuff out. It's why I'm a big believer of backing people to do a job for the first time,
mm,
because actually great people can do an incredible job versus somebody, well, I just want to do it again for the next 3 years and then just shoot me, honestly. So I think, to me it's the first who then what. And I remember I read that in Good to Great and thought that's just genius.
Think about this, Adam. In an early stage business like with Fairsail, I mean, how do you necessarily know what type of person you need as you're on this journey of discover yourself? Um, that's quite a tricky one, don't you think?
Yeah, it is, but it's interesting though. I remember when I mean, the advantage I had in Fairsail, so I hadn't run a business before, but I'd worked with a couple of hundred different software companies. And so
Hmm.
you'd expect you'd pick up a few things from that. And I tried to be as kind of curious and learn as much as possible. And you were part of it, John. You were a client, and I tried to learn from everybody. And one of the first things I did when I got there was I called around all the customers. There were only 30, so it didn't take long. And actually, one of them was Iris Software, and Phil Robinson, now the Boardwave founder, was actually CEO of Iris at the time, and I knew Phil. I said, "Oh, hey, Phil." And he said, "Yeah, we've got you as our core HR system." He said, "It's really funny. We've got a nickname for the business, and we, swapped it with some other customers. We're calling it Fairsail because all the projects go wrong." I was like, "I'm sorry. Did you say Fairsail?" It's like, "Oh shit, we've got a major customer problem here."
Mm.
So actually, the first big appointment was a chief customer officer, which
Mm.
when the business only has 18 people, you think, why are you doing that? Surely you wanted to drive sales. But there was just this fundamental issue in the business. And
Yeah.
actually went on to be, 99% GRR and over 120 NRR, kind of a customer success champion. And, Chris and the CCO just built a fabulous team there. So to me, it's like every business needs something different. That was what
Yeah.
Fairsail needed. It's not what every business needs, but that's what it needed at that point.
Yeah. That makes a hell of a lot of sense. I mean, Fairsail, incredible achievement. Adam, do you want to share with our audience what was
Yeah, well,
done there, what you
if
led
they're
there?
interested, if they look at my LinkedIn, I published something called the Lobster Tales. Yes,
Hmm.
crustacean, and it's the longest thing I've ever written. Actually, it's the kind of my personal view of the scale up story and the team and the experience, and of the business going from 700K ARR to 12 million at the time of acquisition in 3.5 just crazy years.
Mm.
Um, and it's not to say everything went right, because it doesn't. But yeah, it ended up being the UK's fastest growing software business, I think, and but also just a privilege to work with some incredible people,
Mm.
and to be part of that team and to work with some just amazing customers too, and partners, and a real, a privilege to have been able to do it. And So yeah, but to me it was about having that kind of clarity of what the business needed to do. And then somebody asked me yesterday, so why didn't you go into the enterprise? It's like, well, actually, Workday were in the enterprise, and I wanted to play on a turf that we could win. So we went after mid-market.
Yeah.
So companies like Skyscanner and Photobox and Trainline, and amazing companies. And so we Fairsail became the market leader in the mid-market, but didn't do SME and didn't do enterprise. And part of that is focus. And focus is not just choosing what you do, it's choosing what you don't do.
Yeah.
And making the choice of actually being able to say no to a bunch of things. And we wanted to do one thing well and not multiple things. Okay.
Did you have to turn down tempting deals?
Oh yeah. There were lots of deals that I remember. One, oh my God, tried to persuade me that EasyJet would be a brilliant and a great organization, but they've got like 12,000 people. It's like, no, that's not what we do. So no, we're just saying no.
Mm.
Lots and lots of situations, that we said no. It's interesting, actually. I remember somebody did an analysis, and he said, actually, if you look at the ARR that business had signed in the previous quarter, which started to categorize leads kind of A to D, kind of quality, A being the top. And he said, "Oh, Adam, what percentage of ARR do you think came from A's and B's?" I said, "I don't know, 70." He said, "It's 94." 94. So essentially, any time we were spending with a lead that was scored C or D was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
A complete waste of time. So as soon as something was a C or D, it's like, no, thank you. You're not for us.
You must upset one or two salespeople along the way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But we're just saving. And again, I've seen, lots of sales functions over time. One of the biggest issues is they end up wasting a lot of time on the wrong opportunities.
Yeah.
If you don't spend
Yeah.
any time on those opportunities, what could you do with all the other time?
Yeah. In my early years of being a non-exec chairman, and somewhat naive, I must confess, we had one company, and the CEO always reported that his pipeline was 25 million,
Oh yeah,
and it was always 25 million.
25 million, but it was probably all crap.
Yeah. Oh, by definition, because I don't think we closed more than 5% of it, but it kept us all happy for a while until we began to realize it wasn't real. But was when we talked a lot about Fairsail, was that a high spot for you, or would you say there's other ones there?
Yeah, it was. It was a fantastic thing to do. But there are high spots in my Accenture time. Because
Hmm.
back at a project with Barclays where we built a CRM system from scratch where CRM wasn't a thing. And that was amazing. Russell Reynolds did some incredible projects with clients like Salesforce and others, which was fantastic. But also I look at my privileged in my plural life. I've been on the Unit 4 board, the Orbis board, and now working with Clue and Arctic Shores, which are both just fantastic companies. And ScaleUp Group, where you and our fellow partners sitting around us, and I spent a lot of time thinking, God, I'm just a lad from Birmingham. What am I doing here? But yeah, it's honestly, I kind of try and make everything a high point, John.
Well,
Um,
your intensity and cutting to the chase, I think two tremendous attributes, which the right audience value greatly. If they don't value it greatly, well, it's like the deafest people are those who won't listen. And
Yeah, but you know what though, John? I don't mind because I know that I can be deeply annoying. I can be really deeply annoying. And sometimes I look back and think, my God, I even annoyed myself, So I don't know, I think I can fit in the right situations some of the time, but nobody's in the right situation all of the time.
no, no,
Um,
we can't be all things to all people, can you? We shouldn't finish without touching at least upon the whole AI challenge stroke opportunity. I
yeah.
don't, it each day goes by can be more confusing for some. What are your current reflections, and how do you position it when you're talking to the companies you're involved with?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's a big deal what we're going through now. Having said that, putting it into kind of context, you and I have seen a bunch of these transformational waves, right? We've seen relational databases, we've seen object orientation, voice recognition, the cloud, all of these different things, and they all have an impact. But I remember people telling me in the 90s that 5GLs were going to do away with programming and that was dead, right? So what I do believe is that anything sustainable will require a mix of people and technology. That technology on its own won't change business, but I think AI combined with changes to people and to process can have a transformational impact. I don't think it's going to result in widespread job losses. I think it will change a lot of roles
Hmm.
and that a lot of people are going to be deeply, deeply involved with it in all kinds of different ways. But again, put it in context, right? So 30 years ago, virtually nobody worked with technology. It was this kind of niche thing. Now everybody works with technology. And
Yeah,
so again, it's
yeah.
part of transformation. But I think also people sometimes forget that these things have a very, very long tail. IBM have got a product called Kix, which is used in tens of thousands of organizations around the world, was written in 1969.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
everybody thinks, well, it's going to replace everything. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Sometimes I wonder, our banks are running on stuff written in COBOL, and when the last COBOL program is
PL1
done,
and all
passes
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
passes away, what's going to happen?
Well, do you know, you
It's
say that, but actually it's gone now. But I did know there was a bank that had an interest calculation module until, I don't know, 10 years ago that operated in pounds, shilling, and pence and had a decimalization conversion. And the
Yeah.
developers were long since dead, but it was this brilliant executable that ran super fast. And so, I remember decimalization, but only just. So yeah, but having said that, I don't want to say it's not a big deal. It certainly is a big deal. But to me, the really exciting thing is how people can use it and processes can change, and how we can transform businesses together with it. If it's just a pure tech thing, I won't change anything.
I know what struck me belatedly is that these AI systems are hoovering up, absorbing a massive amount of information and creativity, which the whole copyright system was designed to reward and protect and nurture. It's been recent discussions about the creative industry in the UK, which employs 2.5 million people. But also, I'm thinking of the software industry. Um, is it going to be making redundant the whole notion of copyright, for instance?
Would it is a problem. My wife, you met Jules, but my wife's a composer, and so that's what you do. You are creating something literally from scratch, and it is a real concern for
Mm.
people who've created things that they genuinely have created that get hoovered up and reused and all of these things. Having said that, do I think it's likely that the AI is going to produce a piece of music on its own that I'm going to want to sit and listen to? Mm, I mean, it doesn't know how many R's are in strawberry. So I think, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one.
No, okay. We're coming to the end of our very stimulating conversation, and perhaps we'll need a part two in due course. I guess modesty is forbidden you, Adam, to mention one of your major achievements, which was only last year, when at ScaleUp Group you were awarded the Nutcase of the Year award, which recognised your heroic achievement in scaling the alpine parts of the Tour de France route and raising significant amounts for charity too. So you don't have to be mad to be a partner in ScaleUp Group, but sometimes it definitely helps. Uh,
Well,
um,
and if we were doing this podcast in a month's time, John, I'd be able to show you my tattoo, which is going to be there, which is going to have all the mountain stages on it. So, but yeah, it was an incredible privilege. I did that to celebrate my 60th last year with a bunch of friends, and honestly, being able to kind of do the same stages that the pros do a week before they did, obviously a lot slower than them, but it was
Incredible.
an amazing experience. I loved it.
When I was 60, I ran on the marathon, and my claim to fame is that I beat about 7,500 people.
It's a lot of people.
Regrettably, 28,500 beat me. The reason being that I had to walk most of the way after having an injury, which meant I shouldn't really have started. So I ran for 10 miles and walked for 16. But no one passed me walking. And I did walk past a lot of people who apparently were running. So I think it's a question of choosing the context in
Yeah.
which you do these
Also,
things.
but fundamentally in life, there are certain people who've done the London Marathon and certain people who haven't.
Yeah,
You've done it. I haven't. Good on you.
yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. From one case to another, I really appreciate that. Um, so, a reminder to those listening, especially those scaling up entrepreneurs, that we exist at ScaleUp Group to obtain growth investment for you on the best possible terms from the right sources. And we have a 100% track record in that regard. Plus, don't forget, we co-invest alongside a fund, which actually means that it tends to be a cash positive experience for our clients anyway. Adam Hale, you are a stand-up member and partner in ScaleUp Group, and we are so grateful and appreciative of what you contribute to our clients, and also for your pearls of wisdom today. Thank you so much once again for contributing.
Thank you for having me, John. Appreciate it.